Hi everyone, Emma here. I'm so excited to show you how to make one of these lovely bracelets. This is a collaboration with Beebeecraft, and these are the anchor clasps that they sent me. Now, unfortunately, they are out of stock. These were so popular, they sold out right away. So, I did notice, I went to their site and I did notice there's a section, if you click on it, it's in gray, just underneath the item. It's or the description of the item. It says we will inform you once this product is in stock. So you can click that and let me see what it does here. Actually, it's not showing up for some reason. So, yeah, you might send them a message. I will contact them and find out if they're going to be getting these in again. They are incredible. So these were 10 pieces of antique silver stainless steel hook clasp anchor, and I'll add the link for this as well. They are 39 by 27 in the size, millimeters. And then the holes are 5mm holes. So that's important to know depending on what type of leather you're using. Now today we're going to use flat leather. And what else can I tell you about it? So 10 pieces was $20. So they ended up being $2 a piece. That's crazy. I think I mentioned this in the unboxing that I bought some of these from another distributor and I paid, I think, $8 a piece. So that's a pretty crazy deal. Now they sold out, so I apologize for that. You can definitely use this with the same type of clasp, and I do have some other clasps that I got from them. So let me show you some of the other clasps. So these ones are kind of simple ones. So you can do, it's basically the same idea. Your leather goes around the hook of the anchor and then through the holes here, fold over, and it creates your clasp. We did a different bracelet with the other ones that I got, and let me show you that one. These are crazy. So this is how they were in individual bags, but this is basically how it came in this plastic container, and there's 4 different colors and there's 30 of each color. That's crazy. So a lot of people have ordered these as well. Like, that is an amazing deal. These ones were, let me see if I can find that for you. I can't remember off the top of my head here. Let me see. And I apologize for that. But these were $15 Canadian for this set. So that's pretty crazy, and they're beautiful. And this is the bracelet that we made with that. So you can take some 2mm leather to make these and create your clasp, or you can use a thicker leather. So maybe we'll do one of those too. So that's for another time. Let's get going on these guys. So let's put these aside. They are incredible. They're pretty hefty and they are bent so that they fit on your wrist nicely. So let's take a look. This is the one I made for myself, and you're going to need some flat leather. You can use multi-strands of, say, 2mm for this instead of the flat leather if you don't have it. And then you need some sliders like that. I will leave a link for the sliders from Beebeecraft as well. That's not where I got these ones, but Beebeecraft has these guys. And the ones that Beebeecraft has are stainless steel, so they kind of match the stainless steel of this anchor. And yeah, so this is what it looks like on the other side. Super duper. And this is what it looks like open. Like that. and this is the back side. So yeah, let's get started. There are some kind of little intricacies of measurements that you have to be aware of. And to be honest with you, for this, I actually used my wife as an example, because this part here, you have to remember, needs to be big enough that it opens so that you can put it on your clasp like this. Okay, so just remember that you have to incorporate this into the length of your wrist size as well as your clasp, which I think I said was 1.5 inches from this part to this part. So like basically the whole thing. Let me just double check that for you. Yeah, it's about 1.5 inches. So remember to incorporate that. And when you're making bracelets, you should always increase your bracelet size by 1/2 inch. That gives it space to sit on your wrist. Probably enough to put your finger through once it's on your wrist. If you like yours tighter, then go maybe 1/4 inch bigger, but you definitely, especially with these bracelets, when you're using thick leather, you have to add leather. It kind of sucks it up because your turns are not going to be as flat as, say, a 2mm cord. So I'll give you an example. So here's a 2mm cord. You loop it, that's what you get. You take the flat leather, you loop it, that's what you get. So look at the difference with these guys. So that sucks up a lot of leather. So just remember that. I did find that even though, excuse me, I'm going to show you a technique to get this to bend a little more so that it lays a little flatter, but that'll help a bit, but you definitely have to add extra. So I'll give you measurements for a 7.5 inch wrist, and then you can kind of accommodate from there. So let's take a look. Basically, you're going to need your length of leather. So I'm using this gorgeous flat natural leather, and this is a dark brown with a bit of a reddish tinge to it. And I think this is considered a distressed as well, that kind of patina on it. So take your leather. Now remember, this is 1.5 inches. We're going to do a 7.5 inch wrist. So we want to add 1/2 inch, so that's 8 inches. But then subtract your clasp from that. Now, I didn't subtract the full 1.5 inch because, like I said, it kind of sucks up the leather when you're bending it over here and over here. So I just subtracted my 1 inch. So 7.5 gives us 8.5, and then take away 1/2 inch. It should be 8 inches, but remember, we're folding over. So you're going to want to add 1 inch on each fold. So you're going to fold on this side, so let's add that inch. So now we have 9 inches. But when you do this part here, because we need this to be long, your bracelet will still measure to here, but you got to remember this big long piece is more than 1 inch. So let's measure that. So we're going to add this amount to our bracelet size. So that's about almost 2 inches. So incorporating the little bend at the end, I'm going to say this is 2 inches. So we were at 9, we're going to add 2 inches. So you want to cut 2 pieces, because there's 2 pieces here, of 11-inch leather to give you your 7.5 inch bracelet. And if you have to cut a little piece off at the end, that's fine. It's better than being too short. And I was too short on this one. So let's, I'm using my ruler as a hard surface. You should use a hard surface to cut. And actually, I'm not going to use my X-Acto for this. I'm going to use my nipper tools. You can use your scissors. You can use whatever you have to cut. I just like the clean cut. I'm just going to put my nail there so I know where to cut. And try and keep it nice edge. And I'll tell you what, one of the biggest help that I can give you in doing leather bracelets is measure, measure, measure. Remeasure after every step. So I cut it. You saw me measure it. I know it's 11 inches. Take a look and make sure it's 11 inches. Things move around, and then you get halfway down the finishing the bracelet and you're like, why is one end longer than the other? I'm only speaking from experience. So that is a huge, huge tip. And oh, doing leather wrap bracelets, I've done them where I've spent days on them and then I get to the end and it's too small. So yeah, measure, measure, measure. I'm fortunate I have my wife. I can use her wrist to measure. We know exactly how big her wrist is, so then we kind of work off of that. So let's take a look and see. We got the same. So you can see, actually, I measured that and cut, but the leather is a bit, it moves a lot and it's not exactly straight. It's a bit warped at times. So we'll just leave it at that. And we'll just remember that there is a shorter and a longer, and I'll show you how to fix that. So let's take one of these clasps and let me bring the camera down to my work surface. You are going to need two of these sliders. I mentioned you can get these on Beebeecraft as well. If you take a look at my supplies for leather bracelets unboxings, oh, look at that one. It's really bad. I didn't realize that because I would have. Oh, it's just a flake of dirt. Like, I would have done dispute on that. Let's bring this up here and get this better focus and get some more light on there. Yeah, so check out the unboxings. These ones here are in that unboxing, but I will leave the link for the Beebeecraft link for the anchor, as well as these. They have sliders like this that are stainless steel. They are slightly bigger, and actually they might be better than these. These, as you'll see when we do them, they're quite tight. So I'm going to bring back my ruler and use it as a hard surface, because the first part we're going to do is we're going to take, and there's a top and bottom to this leather, so this is an unfinished part, and then if you flip it, there's the finished part. So you're going to fold the finished part. I'm going to take a different, some of them are a little wider, and I think part of it is the leather is thicker. There, that one's better. And that one goes. Okay. So you're going to go in here and fold it. So we are going to, this side here is stationary. It doesn't get moved around too much. So we're just going to measure an inch and then fold it over. So to do that, so let's start here and measure it. So we'll go from the 6, and I'm going to mark it with a pen. You may not see the pen mark, but I will. So let's mark that. My pen must be dying. Let me get a new pen. And I put away all my pens. Here, I think I have a marker. What size is this? Small. Let's see if this works. So let's measure there. It works, but it's brown, so you can't see it. Okay. Let's just, I'm going to measure it and cut at the same time. So this time I'm using my X-Acto knife. Basically what I'm doing is I'm cutting out a little notch, a very tiny notch, so that it will bend easier. You don't have to do that. You can fold it, and I'll show you how to fold it. I just find this helps a little bit, but it could affect your leather. So you don't want to go very deep. So almost lay your blade flat and just slide it back and forth into a little notch there so you can kind of see a cut. Then go the opposite direction like that and do the same, and then go back and scoop that little piece out. There, just like that. That's it. It's not a lot at all. You can see, you can barely tell that it's cut there. So let's do that for the next one. So we're going to measure here like that. Be careful with your X-Acto knife. Definitely use a hard surface so you don't damage what's underneath. And when you're facing your fingers, be careful. This doesn't take a lot of strength, so just use your tool to get where you need to be. There. That's it for that one. So we can put them side by side. They're kind of even. Now we are going to fold these. Oh, before we fold it, so here's another tool that I use. This is I think it's called an awl, and it's for softening your leather. So this stuff is quite rigid. So what you want to do is just hold it like that. If you don't have one of these, you can use your fingers to do that. I would use the unfinished side to do that. First of all, you want it to curl that way. But secondly, you don't want to scuff up this. It shouldn't. Let me try. Yeah, it doesn't scuff it up. But, and I'm purposely not doing the part that has the cut in it because I don't want to like pull it apart. So if you're doing this, definitely do it before so you can see the difference. And now it bends, and now this one's still kind of. Let's do this one. And you can use anything to do this. You can use a pen or a marker. Like that. So you don't need one of those tools. There. Okay, so it's nice and soft. So this, put this in here. I think this is the one we had. So slide that in and bring it to that spot there. And actually, before we do that, let's bend these. So you can just take and bend with your index and thumb. And then I take my flat nose pliers and really squinch it down. Just be careful not to scuff up your leather again. I find the flat nose don't do that, so it's kind of nice. So that one's bent, and let's bend this one like that, and squeeze that. Nice. Get rid of those pieces. Okay, now we're ready to attach. So the first one in like that, and then put the second one in like that, and that's what you're going to get. So now what we want to do is we want to thread on our first slider, and I always check which side looks nicer. Some of them are just tiny little abrasions. So I'm just pulling that on, straight down. Just the two goes on really easy. This section here, different story. So let's see if we can get this in here. And I have a trick for adjusting this as well. So and just kind of wiggle it on. Now I have a tool. This is like a nail tool, but whatever you have, and just kind of get that in there, like that, and kind of wiggle it back and forth, and pull on this piece, these pieces here, and it should slide over. So for these, I did it quite a bit. I slid it quite a bit. You don't have to. And here's another way to do it, is back and forth. And it's starting to get in there. So you could leave it like that. It's in enough. Has some space there. Depends where you want this to sit. If you want to sit it closer to, I think that's probably good enough right there. Now at this point, you can either clean these up, like cut them a bit with your nipper tools, just to get them a little more even. But it's really not necessary. I think I might see if I can get that in a little more to make sure. There, that's perfect. Okay, so now you could put some glue in there. There's really not a lot of space. So I guess so you could see some space in there. If you have some GS Hypo, it's great because it has that like hypodermic needle. I'm sure that's why they call it that. For some reason I have a brand new tube of it and I can't find it. So, but just stick your needle in there and put a little drop maybe in here. And you can always put some glue in between the two pieces of leather there. And that will hold it in place and let it cure overnight. But this is not going anywhere. That's not coming apart. Just the way it is. So that's the great thing, is you really don't need any glue. So so at this point you could put a slider here, but you know what? I think this is the hero of the bracelet. So I would totally put this at the front of the bracelet. So you really don't need any sliders. So now let's look at our length here so we can get our bracelet. So remember, we want to measure 8 inches. We're doing a 7.5 inch bracelet, and we're counting this as 1 inch. We're not going to count the parts on the edges. So we'll start here and go and measure. There's the 8. There's the 8 mark. So I'm just double checking because this is where I had issues with my wife's bracelet. So I think probably I might do 8 1/4 just to be safe. So at this point you can bend. So you do have a lot left over. Let me see what this gives us. Like that. And there. So it gives us about a 9, but you got to remember that these pieces here don't count as part of the length because they go in here. So there is your bracelet, like that. Just adjust the lighting here a bit. There we go. Okay, so I think we are going to use this as our measurement. So let me mark these guys. I'm going to mark one and then let me, since I don't have a pen, I'm going to use my blade to mark it and do that little notch on this side to get it nicely bent. And then I'll just set the other one next to it and use the same measurement. So, and like that. That's it. Let's bend these guys. And if this part is too long, definitely shorten it. There's my flat nose. Like that. And bend that one. There. Make sure they're still the same length. Looks like one is longer than the other. It's not going to matter because it's going to, when we get it into the other slider, we're going to, so I'm just going to pinch this and test this. And we're going to go like this, like that. And the slider is going to go about here. You need enough room so that you can do this and slide them off. So just remember that. Where's the other one? So you need this opening so that you can get it over the anchor. So let's get one of these guys on. So just slide this on. Let's take a look at what side I want. Like this. Okay. And then fold this. And you might want to do them both at the same time. But this one seems to be, here, let me try it both at the same time. Kind of hold them together and push your bead up, spacer bead, and get these guys in there. And I'm pushing and wiggling and all that fun stuff. And this one went in a lot easier than my wife's bracelet, but you're going to find that with different. So the leathers, because they're organic, they are different widths, shaped differently. So just remember that. It's not necessarily the bead. I'm just going to flip this over. It's a little easier to. And once you have enough out here, you could actually pull it through with your flat nose. Let's see. Like a little bit more on this one. That one went through. Depending on how stiff the leather is, it'll go through easier. So let's grab these and slide that in there and pull like that. And pull like that. And let's look at where we're, so we can pull a little bit more on both of them. There. And there. This one is the longer one there. Just, I'm gonna use my fingers to make sure they're in the same spot, the same length. So this one needs to go a bit. So let's take a look at what we have. that. So your spacer bead can go up a little more. I think there's lots of room here. So let's try that. There. And make sure this one's okay. So you can see a bit if you flatten this. This one's a little longer, so it's kind of arching. So just get it flat and kind of adjust the bead a bit. There, that should do it. There we go, simple. There, and there is your bracelet. Ta-da! So let's just look at the back side here. You can leave this, I wouldn't leave it that long, so you can go ahead and cut it with your nipper tools. So I would leave probably about that much. You don't have to. And again, you can glue this if you want. That, and then use the other one as your measure. And that is it. So that's what it looks like on either side. And then your bracelet is done. Like that. Ta-da! So I did want to show you one other little trick here. On my wife's bracelet, when I was adjusting, there was a bit of a, so this part here, this finish gets like a smooth finish to it. It can crack because the leather is ultimately is soft, so that area cracked. It's not a structural thing, but you know, it's a little spot. If you run into that, I have these artist pencils or markers. These are sepia color, which is like this color here. You don't need, like, you can use any brown cheap marker you got at the dollar store from your grandkids stuff, and you just cover up that. These actually might be too light. I'm letting the ink soak into the crack rather than go over it. Let me get a bigger one. I have thicker ones here that might have a little more ink. Here's a medium. Okay, where'd it go? I did a good job. I can't see it now. This is the one we just made, that's why. Oh, Emma. There it is. Yeah, that's doing it. There. Lovely. So there are these lovely. Let me see if I can put this on. So these are the kind of bracelets you might need help with to get on, but let me see if we can get that on there. And yeah, you're going to need help with these, I think. I mean, it helps if your wrist is the proper size, so there. That's amazing. So there you go. So I hope you enjoyed that. This was a lot of fun. You know, you're not limited to flat leather with these guys. So definitely, you know, take a look at what leather you have around And stay tuned because I'm going to be doing a bunch more of these awesome bracelets. So here's the other thing I wanted to point out too. So initially I said we were going to do some men's bracelets, and this one's mine. This one's my wife's, and this is my brother-in-law Peter's. So you don't have to be a guy to wear these. We live right by the ocean and right by the Fisherman's Cove. So these are definitely kind of a nice sea-themed bracelet. They're gorgeous bracelets. So thank you so much, Beebeecraft, for this awesome collaboration. This has been a lot of fun doing these things, and thank you for providing the items to do them. They're just lovely. So take care, everybody, and thank you for listening and watching the videos. It really helps to to make a difference. So let's just show you from this to this. Take care, everybody. Bye.